how's everything been for you, like personally, and then the staff and the office? What's been going on with all that, with everything?
Good. It's unbelievably challenging times. I feel like we're in this time warp like everyone else after we closed everything down in March up in Brooklyn and kind of got out of quarantine. We would have meetings about, oh, it's been a really challenging month, and then it's turned into, oh, it's been a really stressful 2 months, and then 2 months went to 3 months and 4 months. So overall, I think everyone's doing well. My staff is working at a unbelievable high level, and we went ahead and trimmed down as far as staff's concerned. We had 2 open positions that we were actually advertising for in March. We put the freeze on them, and then we had 3 interns that were actually working, so we were able to get them home about a month early, and we haven't replaced them. So everybody's been picking up the slack, and we are optimistic that we will get through this COVID period, and hopefully we get basketball started, and at some point we get back to normalcy.
Yeah, from your perspective, because you work with all the schools and the presidents and the athletic directors and all that, like, what are you envisioning, or from your perspective on down the road? You know what I mean? I think there's a fear for people that when they see things we need to do now because of everything that's going on, worried that it's going to continue. Like, hey, we're going to reduce this, we're not going to do that, we're going to do a game from home or whatever. And then when things do go back to normal, because this will pass, we know that, not till next year probably, but there are fears that, oh, businesses and companies and schools are going to see how it was done when we had to reduce, and then they might just continue it that way. Well, what have you heard, in terms of that, whether it's a sports being canceled or staff being reduced? Like, give me your take, if you don't mind, on that.
Yeah, I do think that some of the things that we have almost gotten accustomed to in the last 5 months, so to speak, are going to stick. I think certainly the use of technology and the way that we've been able to do meetings, even from the conference office standpoint, we would have pretty limited contact with our head coaches groups and some of our student athletes until we actually went to championships. And now we've been in a position, obviously, with, the Zoom, the Ring Central virtual meetings, that we've been able to engage with them almost at a much higher level. Now, the news hasn't been particularly good, but I think they're hopeful. But I do think that some of those things will stick. I think that everyone in the business, even us internally here in the A-10 and talking to my commissioner colleagues, some of the efficiencies that, everybody's sort of gotten a little bit lean and mean. Maybe, we had a little bit of fluff over the last 6, 7, 8 years, kind of building up around the edges. And I do think that everyone has a new appreciation for the efficiency and the fact that in some instances, you don't need all the bells and whistles to be really successful or to be able to host really top-notch blue chip events. So I think they will stick. I think in terms of like the reduction in, say, championship fields and brackets and that, I think that they will bounce back and go back to the full size and whatever those capacities are.
Okay.
So,
Yeah. I mean, there's obviously some very good things that come out of this. We have to, or, we don't want to, burn the opportunity of being better, and analyzing things that we can do to be more efficient. So I agree with you there. And I think it's pretty impressive. I mean, 45 years now of the league and everything. I've been involved in it for a long time. What have you seen? What are some of the great, growth and changes that the A-10's kind of been through from day one till now your time there?
well, obviously, our membership has really grown to 14. We cover a footprint of 30% of the media markets in the country, but we still have a really great layout geographically of our footprint. The national position we've been able to not only establish, but continue to maintain in the sport of basketball has been critically important. Seeing the successes of our programs. And, I have to even reference back to last year. I mean, it was not only crushing to have to put the brakes on the championship while it was in progress and we were in Barclays in Brooklyn, but the fact of, you had this historic season underway with Dayton. And, they ascended all the way to number 3 in the nation. They won our regular season 18-0, number 1 seed in our championship, and certainly high aspirations for the NCAA championship. And, but that's just a sign of the strength of the league. because even though there were a lot of eyes on Dayton at that point in time, you still had, Richmond and VCU and Rhodey. They were all kind of nipping at their, at their coattails. So I do think the strength of the league that has maintained has been critically important. We've established some really tremendous initiatives. We actually, when I came, we were basically had about $5,000 in postgraduate scholarships, and at this point, we are basically we are providing $70,000 in postgraduate scholarships. Every single institution has the opportunity to award a $5,000 scholarship to a student athlete that's graduating, that's going on to a master's program, and that's been phenomenal. Our President's Council has been phenomenal with the way that we have been flexible in our media deals and our media partnerships. And, as of late, we've established a commission on racial equity, diversity, and inclusion. We are not unlike everyone else in the country, and we're outraged by what we saw in terms of racial injustices over the last several months. And it's not just this time capsule. It's been historical for a long time. And so we are hoping to leverage everything that we're doing on 14 campuses and really make a difference from a conference perspective.
Yeah, that's excellent. Well, what do you think the main goal of that group is, and the outreach that's going to come from all this? I mean, we've heard about everything that's been happening, and we have to listen better. And I think it sounds like that's what you guys have done by putting this together. What do you think specifically, might get done, whether that's from what you guys are doing or other people around the nation as we attempt to get better and just be better as a whole?
Well, I think the feel of the nation is different. I would hope that you and your viewers feel the same thing. We've all been around, a long time, maybe longer than we want to admit. And I think that, to really understand the dynamics of what's going on in real life, I do think that there's a tremendous opportunity to be able to not only just, make a public statement or put a uniform patch on. That's not something that's going to make long-lasting changes. What has to happen is we have to really address unconscious bias. We have to have accountability in our hiring and advancement processes. We have to have advancements in the opportunities that we're able to open up to, a diverse population, because when we have a diverse population, when we have diverse teams, when we have diverse athletic programs, when we have diverse boards and president's councils, the work is better. We all perform better. And I think that that's going to be critically important. And that's what we're trying to do in the A-10. We don't want to replicate what each individual campus is doing, but we want to be able to leverage all of our resources and to be able to weave all of those efforts together so that we can make a larger impact from a regional standpoint and a national standpoint, and have it trickle all the way down to our teams, to our coaches, to our student athletes, and our families.
No, well said. I mean, and it's something that, we all know is going to take, time, but it's good to finally get this going and to learn and understand, where we need to improve. Overall, I mean, it's been, every year, I think, in terms of, I'll say in basketball, because that's where I'm working on mostly, but I mean, the league and the depth, I think, when you look towards this season, I mean, could be even better, than, from before. I mean, there was a year, I know it was 2014, you guys had 6 teams in the tournament. I mean, mostly it's always a good 3, 4, 5 challenging. I mean, 6 is huge. I mean, could it be another year like that where you see that many potentially, getting to the NCAA tournament?
Well, I think that I agree with you. I think we have a tremendously strong set of teams before us. I think before we get too far ahead of ourselves, we're so focused on being able to get our protocols in place and then get the season up and going and get it launched. And, the number one priority, I think, from everyone in NCAA Division I is, to be able to get the basketball season underway so that, in fact, we can get the beginning started so we can get to the end, which is the NCAA championship. And the reality of that is that that championship does basically support about 90 to 92% of the entire NCAA budget, which, as you know, trickles down to all of the conferences and all the membership and supports, the entire enterprise of the association. So, we are, of course, I love to project into March right now and be, projecting potential number of teams. And, I think we've got a unique situation, even in terms of how we're adjusting schedules right now with the delay of the season, not starting until November 25th. We've had to move around a ton of games because of MTEs moving and 2 weeks getting cut off the season. So I'm optimistic that our teams are going to be in the right place by the time we get to March. But we're focused on the launch right now.
Mhm. Now, when do you anticipate having the conference schedule out? Would there be built-in, flexibility for things that may change or cancellations and all that kind of stuff? What's your take on that right now? What's the target date that I guess you're looking at where fans could say, "Oh, okay, we'll wait to see this when this comes out."
Yeah, you're exactly right. We are going to have to be really flexible. We've had conference calls with our coaches and ADs, and they have been great. I mean, everyone understands what's going on in the country, and everyone understands what's going on with the virus. We don't know what the dynamics of the virus will be 30 days from now, 60 days from now. I think we're about 50 days or so approximately from the start of the season, November 25th. So I anticipate that we've had our conference schedule, and our teams have had their non-conference schedules completed for a good number of weeks. Obviously, we have not released anything because we're still making decisions with our media partners. But at some point in time, we're going to have to, put a hold on everything and actually release the schedule to our team so that they know where they're traveling to and what it looks like on their own campus and facilities. I would anticipate that's going to be within literally today. We're, beginning of October, will be in the next couple of weeks. But even when the schedule does get released, we'll have to be flexible, not unlike what you've seen with the sport of football, not unlike what you've seen with the NFL and Major League Baseball. We all have the realization that there's going to be bumps in the road. We hope we can control them, but if there is a cancellation due to COVID or a scheduling issue, everyone's going to have to go with the flow and be flexible.
Yeah.
And we'll make decisions in the best interest of our teams and the league.
I don't want for people out there that I mean, we're talking a lot about football and basketball. I mean, there are multiple, there are tons and tons of other collegiate sports, whether it's the fall, the winter, that I just feel like isn't getting the respect, or it kind of just goes by the wayside because we're only focused on these things. What have been the talks of all the other sports, whether it's soccer or field hockey or swimming, or what about those? That are going to try to get back and do the same type of things. What's been the conversations with those teams and leagues or coaches and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, the conversation has been plentiful. We have postponed all of our fall sport events, all of our contests, and our A-10 championships, as has the NCAA. But I've spoken with every one of those coaches groups. The anticipation and the intent from our athletic directors and our president's council is that we would actually have a truncated conference schedule, regionally based, and we would have the opportunity for those sports of soccer and volleyball and field hockey and cross country to actually compete after the start of the new year. So those schedules are actually put together. We actually have them laid out on the calendar. The one great news for all those fall athletes is the fact that everyone will have another year of eligibility. So it's not costing them a year of eligibility. So in essence, when they do have this truncated schedule and the opportunity for a smaller A-10 championship and an NCAA championship, in essence, it's kind of a freebie, because if the student athletes want to plan their matriculation where they actually retain and utilize a fifth year of competition, those fall sports are going to be able to be in that position to do that. So lots of decisions. Campuses right now, as you can imagine, are looking at even facility usage, and you think about the time and the hours in the day, say, of your training staff. When your training staff would be taking care of the sports medicine needs for soccer's in the fall, now they're going to be in the spring semester, but they're also overlapping with track and swimming and basketball. And so a lot of dynamic decision making being made on campus right now.
It's a little crazy for sure. We know that. I mean, I think we could all use probably like a red shirt year, right? You know what I mean? Don't you think?
Yeah,
I mean, or and not gain another year of our life. You know, like,
yeah.
we should age another year. We should all get a red shirt. You know, I mean, it's just nuts. And you know, there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot to think about. I mean, I think hopefully seeing the NBA, seeing the NFL, Major League Baseball kind of do this already. You're hoping, right? I would think with college basketball that we can get this right and we can do it right. We've got another almost 2 months to get the protocols and things in place, you know, for what is going to be probably another 3 or 4, 5 month process. I mean, and nothing, it seems to me, is going to just get magically better, right? I think we all have to think that and have that in our minds, right? Do you agree with that? I mean,
Yeah, I do agree with that. And I know we were, even though we're a basketball centric league and we don't sponsor football, we were totally rooting for football all through June and July and August, because the simple fact of the matter is, with collegiate football being able to get up and going, we were going to be able to, see and really be able to learn from, experiences that they are having. And so I think that's been a tremendously positive. The NBA and the WNBA bubbles, as we know, have really been the creme de la creme version of a bubble. But we have been able to really ascertain some good lessons when you look at the way their court's set up and how they've spread out their team benches and scores table, et cetera. So there's a lot of those transferable decisions that are being made. The tricky thing in the sport of basketball, and I don't need to tell you this because you know the sport so well, is we're moving now from this, outdoor football environment to an indoor environment. So things like, your HVAC, your airflow, your number of individuals within an arena, depending on, if you have an arena that seats 14,000 people, or if you have a smaller arena that seats 6,000, we're making individual protocols and helping our schools with our own A-10 medical advisory committee, which is tremendously impressive and very high credentials. Everyone's going to have to make decisions that are a little bit different. And, we haven't been in the situation where we've been dealing with, access and egress, where we've been dealing with HVAC and air circulation and airflow, not to mention the sanitation that will be necessary for the playing court itself and the interaction between student athletes, game officials, and coaching staffs and support staff. So, it's a whole new ball game. And I just give kudos to my staff, who's been working around the clock with members of people, individuals from all of our schools, so that we can hopefully be as prepared as possible. And I do think you have to do some dry runs. When we start regular official team practices on the 14th, the student athletes and the coaches are going to be, they're not going to be used to the court setup. We typically, in a typical year, we'd have a big adjustment of a team of, you play in an enclosed arena, and then when you go to a dome, there's this big spatial difference. Well, we're going to have spatial differences within our own arenas this year, just because of what we'll have to do with the COVID protocols.
yeah. Hey, I mean, I'm sure like you and many of us, I mean, we really think hopefully moving forward that some of these things that we do, will stick, like you talked about, with like just better sanitize, better cleaning, better, like it should be done that way anyway. You know what I mean? So it's a shame that all this has happened. We all know that, but let's take some of that positive out of that and say, hey, how about moving forward? Arenas or locker rooms or places will just be better cleaned and sanitized so we can prevent any and all, diseases or anything that may come our way, right? I mean, let's hope that that is something that's going to be better moving forward, period.
Totally with you. It's, that old saying, everything you ever needed to know, you learned in kindergarten. Wash your hands, cover your mouth when you sneeze, little basic things. We all have to get back to that. And I totally agree with you. The not only the personal hygiene, but our spatial workspaces and play spaces. Maybe as a nation and as a country, we sort of got used to a little bit of relaxed sanitation. And I do think that all of those types of protocols will stick in terms of, just good measure. And you know what? It's not only good for people, it's good for the environment. It's good for your facility maintenance.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Hey, this has been awesome. Is there anything else that you want, like kind of the fans or people out there that are watching, to hear about, whether it's the league or what you guys are doing, or any message that needs to get out there, especially during this time?
Yeah, I would just say, that certainly I think that not only the A-10 website, but all of our school websites are going to be an incredible resource for information, because, we're going to be fluid for probably several more months, as I think we've all gotten accustomed to. And I would literally say, to don't back off on your support. There's a lot of ways that you can support your favorite team, your favorite school, even if you can't go in person to an event. And there's a lot of financial stressors right now. There's a lot of mental stress with staffs, with student athletes, with coaches. And I think this is a time to really unite and be real team players. And when I say team players, I don't mean just the team proper of 11 student athletes. I mean sort of the nation, the A-10 family, the A-10 nation, the Rhodey family, the Dayton family. So I would just encourage everyone to, really stay connected, even virtually, with the programs that you support. And I think we'll, get through it stronger and be stronger in the end.
I agree. I agree. And let me say one more thing. I think you just mentioned it there, and I think that this could be something moving forward. And I know some schools are doing this where they have people in place to help the athletes with their mental health, and to talk to someone and to really go through, hey, what are we working on here? What are you going through? Because we don't really see that. We don't know that. We know how big that issue is to everybody is dealing with something, right? You know what I mean? So I don't
Absolutely.
know if that's something that maybe I know schools are doing individually, but down the road where there's a group or there's a collection of a real driving force to make sure that everybody has those resources available for their student athletes, which we know is just one of the biggest concerns, especially during this time, and how much harder it could be for people having to navigate through these waters.
I agree. And I think our schools are doing yeoman's work in this area. But again, it does take all of us being stronger together. We did a series of Stronger Together, which was really focused on mental health initiatives. We did it back in May and June. I think we're going to repeat it this fall. Because even like we read in the paper or we see on the internet or something as simple as, okay, someone tests positive, so they have to be in quarantine for 14 days. Like that sort of rolls off of our conversation right now, or our consciousness. But if you stop and really think about that, you think about a student athlete. You try it right now. You try to stay in your own bedroom at home for 14 days, and you have your meal that's brought up and put outside your door, and you have to wait till the person leaves, and then you open the door and you bring in your meal 3 times a day. I mean, that's no joke. That's not fun. That's not mentally. That's a really challenging environment. And I almost think we've almost become a little bit casual about that in just 3 months. So, really supporting each other, and not being afraid to voice the fact that if you need help and you are feeling yourself, kind of the balance, getting out of balance with your mental wellness, or your stress capabilities, I think we have to reach out. We have to lean on folks, and little things make such a difference. Little interaction, and we all know we've been social distancing, so you don't have that close contact. And there's a lot of things that are going on, and I think to be really focused on each of them just in proportion is critically important.
That's an incredible point. Incredible point. Yeah, it can't be some nonchalant, like, oh, no big deal. Like, it is a big deal. You know what I mean? You're absolutely right. It's a huge deal. And then it's almost like what we've been talking about with everything else. Once we finally step back and listen and learn and really, do our best to be effective, that's where we need to be. I mean, there's no doubt about that.
Mhm.
So, hey, it's awesome talking to you as always. I'm really hoping that we do get to see each other face to face at some point during this season. I know we'll get it off on the right start. And, just thanks for everything you guys are doing at the league. I mean, you guys are great. I got so many friends there over the years, and including yourself. So thanks for the time, Bernadette.
Great. Thank you. It's great to talk to you. And I agree. I hope we see each other soon. So stay well, stay safe, and mask up.
I will. Thanks again. I'll talk to you.
Bye bye.